Humanity is heading back to the moon. But this time, we aren't just going there to plant a flag. By 2028, the objective is to break ground on a permanent lunar settlement. Building this off-world infrastructure is staggeringly expensive. The sheer logistics of lifting materials out of Earth's gravity well means no single nation can shoulder the financial and physical burden alone. To make this work, NASA has to look outside its own borders. They need a highly capable international coalition to help construct and actually maintain a base on a hostile surface. In this era, the victory condition has shifted toward the engineering of a geopolitical alliance resilient enough to sustain a human presence on the surface permanently. And that brings us to a specific catalyst. Recently, Russian cosmonauts broadcast a message from orbit, proudly displaying the Indian flag. Almost immediately, the United States made its countermove. The State Department and NASA issued a sudden official invitation for India's space agency, ISRO, to help co-build the American moon base. Out of all the nations on Earth, why is the United States suddenly so focused on bringing India to the moon? This sudden outreach serves as a deliberate strategy to integrate India's engineering assets into the American framework before rival programs can lock them in. If we look at a map of nations with active space agencies, the list of potential partners for NASA shrinks fast. China is completely off the table. U.S. law explicitly forbids cooperation, and Beijing is designing their own rival lunar base. Russia is a direct competitor, actively aligning its deep space ambitions with the Chinese program. Nations with younger space sectors like Australia and South Korea are making strides, but simply lack the heavy infrastructure needed to support deep space habitats. That leaves the established veterans. Europe's space agency, ESA, is already locked in and committed to the Artemis Accords. Japan's JAXA is right there with them, providing a crucial pillar of aerospace expertise. But even with European and Japanese support, the logistical math for maintaining a permanent human presence on the moon falls short. NASA requires one more irreplaceable heavyweight to make this colony viable, and by process of elimination, that is India. Let's look at the Artemis timeline. Phases 1 through 4 are strictly transportation missions, proving we can reliably get humans to the lunar surface. But the strategy shifts at Artemis V, the pivot point where short visits end and building permanent infrastructure begins. This exact phase is where India is projected to enter the fray. NASA wants them providing the operational support required to assemble and run a long-term base. Maintaining life support and daily logistics on the moon requires a massive data load. ISRO brings highly advanced tracking systems and orbital mechanics, the complex calculations of how objects move in space, that are essential for keeping those lunar systems stable. Entering the program at Artemis V embeds India's technical expertise into the daily management of an off-world base, moving ISRO from regional satellite work to the front lines of sustaining human life on the moon. For the United States, this alliance secures a massive strategic win. It locks down a top-tier space power and permanently boxes out the Sino-Russian coalition from absorbing India's deep pool of engineering talent. But from New Delhi's perspective, there is an obvious concern. Does joining an American-led coalition mean stepping away from its own sovereign space program? The answer is no. India is operating under strict directives to deploy an independent space station by 2035 and to put an Indian citizen on the moon by 2040. The Artemis program gives Indian astronauts a massive advantage. It serves as a masterclass in extreme off-world survival, teaching them exactly how the lunar climate impacts hardware and human biology over extended periods. Every piece of hands-on data gathered while building the Artemis base feeds directly back into accelerating ISRO's own standalone moon mission. America secures the heavy engineering power it needs to survive the lunar environment, and India gets the exact blueprint to build its own future. The geopolitical battle lines of Earth are officially being projected onto the moon.
If you value clarity over chaos, explore more on Clear Lens X.